I never thought I'd lose my home to a man who believed the law didn't apply to him. The cabin sat high in the mountains, tucked between pine trees and granite cliffs, far from the noise of cities and people who talked too much. I built it with my own hands, every beam, every nail, every stubborn splinter lodged into my skin. It wasn't fancy, but it was solid. A place where the air smelled clean and silence actually meant something. For 5 years, that cabin was my peace. I owned the land legally. Deed recorded. Taxes paid every year. No disputes. No drama. Just me, my dog Ranger, and the quiet rhythm of mountain life. Then Evan Cross showed up. At first, he seemed harmless. He drove up in an old black pickup with no license plates, blasting talk radio loud enough to echo off the trees. He was in his late 40s, scruffy beard, mirrored sunglasses, and a smug smile that never reached his eyes. He said he was just passing through. I should have trusted the feeling I got in my gut. Evan asked if he could camp near my property line for a few days. I hesitated. Mountain folks don't usually like strangers hanging around, but he spoke confidently, like someone used to getting his way. Just me and my rights, he joked. I laughed awkwardly and pointed out the public land down the road. He nodded, smiled, and drove off. 3 days later, I found a tent on my land. Not near the boundary. Not close. Right beside my creek. I walked over and calmly told him he was trespassing. That's when his smile changed. You don't actually own this land, he said casually. I blinked. Excuse me. He pulled out a stack of papers, thick, messy, covered in stamps, seals, and handwritten notes. I'm a sovereign citizen. This land belongs to the people, not to corporate entities. Your deed is invalid under common law. I'd heard of sovereign citizens before, people who believe they're not subject to government laws, but I never thought I'd deal with one personally. I told him he had 24 hours to leave or I'd call the sheriff. He laughed. Sheriffs have no authority over free men. I called anyway. The deputy who came out was polite but clearly exhausted. Sir, the deputy told Evan, you need to move your campsite. This is private property. Evan crossed his arms. I do not consent. I am not engaged in commerce. The deputy sighed like he'd heard this nonsense 100 times. After an hour of circular arguments, the deputy warned Evan and left, promising to follow up. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I came back from town with supplies and found my cabin locked. A new padlock. Heavy duty. Industrial. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. Then I saw the sign nailed to my door, Notice of Lawful Occupation. Private property under common law. My heart dropped into my stomach. I banged on the door. Evan opened it, from inside my home. He had moved in. My furniture was rearranged. My food eaten. My dog's bed shoved into a corner. You're trespassing, I shouted. No, he replied calmly. You abandoned the property. I lawfully claimed it. I called the sheriff again. This time, things got complicated. Evan flooded the sheriff's office with paperwork. Liens. Affidavits. Notices of default. Documents that looked official but were complete nonsense. The county clerk confirmed my deed was valid. But Evan claimed the county itself was illegitimate. Every time authorities tried to remove him, he'd file something new. Demand proof of jurisdiction. Accuse them of treason. And here's the terrifying part, he knew how to stall. Weeks turned into months. Legal processes crawled. Meanwhile, I was locked out of my own home. I slept in my truck. Then at a friend's place. Then in a cheap motel that smelled like mold and regret. And Evan. He posted videos online. He started a YouTube channel. In his videos, he stood on my porch, waving documents, ranting about freedom. This cabin was unlawfully seized by a corporate slave, he told his followers. I reclaimed it peacefully. The comments were worse. Good for you. Property tax is theft. He abandoned it, fair game. I watched strangers cheer as a man stole my life. That's when I realized, this wasn't just about property. This was about control. One night, Evan called me. I don't know how he got my number. If you try to come back here, he said calmly, I'll consider it an act of aggression. I recorded the call. I sent it to the sheriff. They told me to stay away for my own safety. That was the moment something broke inside me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. I hired a lawyer, one who specialized in dealing with sovereign citizen cases. She smiled when I explained everything. They always think they're smarter than the system, she said. That's how they lose. We didn't rush. We documented everything. Every threat. Every video. Every illegal filing. Every unpaid utility bill Evan thought he didn't have to pay. We let him dig his own grave. Because sovereign citizens always do. Evan thought he had one. He thought the mountain cabin was his. He thought karma was a myth invented by weak people. If you'd asked Evan Cross, he would have told you the cabin was his now. Not because he bought it. Not because he inherited it. But because, in his mind, reality only existed if he agreed to it. And in his reality, I was the trespasser. One cold morning, my lawyer called me. You're not going to believe this, she said. I was already exhausted, already angry, already numb. Try me. He filed an eviction notice, against you. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. Evan had gone to the county courthouse and attempted to file a notice of unlawful detainer, claiming I was occupying his property illegally. He listed himself as the natural living landholder. He listed me as a corporate fiction. And the cabin. He described it as reclaimed territory under common law. The clerk rejected it immediately. So Evan did what sovereign citizens always do when reality pushes back. He doubled down. Within days, he flooded the system. He filed fake liens against my name, bogus affidavits claiming I owed him damages, notices accusing county officials of fraud, threats of international common law courts. My credit score dipped overnight. A bank froze one of my accounts temporarily, pending review. That was the moment this stopped being a nuisance and became war. My lawyer stayed calm. This is harassment, she said. And judges hate this. Still, the damage was real. I spent hours on the phone explaining to confused employees that no, I wasn't part of a secret maritime corporation. Meanwhile, Evan uploaded another video. This one was different. He stood in my living room, holding a printed photo of me. This individual has been lawfully evicted, he said to the camera. If he attempts to return, he will be treated as an intruder. Then he tapped something off screen. A shotgun. I watched the clip 3 times. My hands were shaking by the third. I sent it to my lawyer, the sheriff, and the district attorney. 2 deputies drove up to the cabin that afternoon. Evan refused to open the door. He shouted through a window about consent, jurisdiction, and how the Constitution protected him. One deputy calmly told him to step outside. Evan replied with a phrase I'll never forget, "I do not recognize your authority, and any attempt to enforce will be met with equal force." That sentence changed everything. Threats plus firearms plus illegal occupation equals probable cause. For the first time, Evan's paperwork didn't protect him. It exposed him. A judge signed the search warrant. And suddenly, Evan Cross wasn't a free man. He was a suspect. I wasn't there when it happened. But I read the report. Inside my cabin, deputies found multiple unregistered firearms, ammunition stockpiled in milk crates, forged legal documents, stolen mail, mine, handwritten plans labeled property defense. 1 page listed my name under the heading, known adversaries. Another listed the sheriff. Another listed the judge. Evan resisted. Of course he did. He screamed about tyranny as deputies dragged him out of my cabin in handcuffs. Neighbors filmed from their phones. His YouTube audience watched the live stream and abruptly when his phone hit the ground, the comments turned quiet. Then suspicious. Then hostile. Freedom heroes don't usually end up face down in the dirt. Even from jail, Evan tried to fight. He filed motions handwritten on notebook paper. He demanded diplomatic immunity. He claimed the jail was a floating maritime vessel. The judge shut him down in under 2 minutes. "I do not argue with delusions," she said. "I enforce the law." I finally saw Evan again 3 months later. He looked smaller. No sunglasses. No smug grin. Just a man realizing that believing you're untouchable doesn't make it true. The prosecutor laid it out: criminal trespass, making terroristic threats, fraudulent filings, harassment, weapons violations. My lawyer presented the timeline. The videos. The threats. The fake eviction. When the shotgun video played in court, Evan stared at the table. For the first time, he had nothing to say. Guilty. On multiple counts. Evan was sentenced to prison time, fines, a permanent restraining order, restitution for damages and legal costs, and most importantly, immediate removal from the property. The day I returned to my cabin, the locks were gone. So was Evan. The place was trashed. Walls scrawled with slogans. Papers everywhere. But it was mine again. I stood on the porch as the sun dipped behind the mountains. Ranger ran circles around me, tail wagging like he never stopped believing. I cried. Not from sadness. From release. People think karma is dramatic. Lightning bolts. Explosions. But real karma is quieter. It's watching a man who thought he was above the law realize he's actually beneath it. It's seeing someone who weaponized nonsense get crushed by reality. Evan Cross wanted freedom without responsibility. The system gave him exactly what he earned. But the story doesn't end there. Because Evan's actions left ripples, his followers turned on him, his finances collapsed, and a final twist emerged that even he didn't see coming. He had no idea what was coming next.